Hi friends, welcome to WebChamp. In this video, I'm going to discuss conditional statements in Python. So what is conditional statement? So there are few statements. Obviously, if you write the program in a Python interpreter goes and it will try to execute each and every statement. But if you want to control the execution, if you want to take the decision what to be executed at what situation, conditional statements comes in a picture. Okay. So Python has various types of conditional statement. That is what if statement, if else statement, if elif else statement, and nested conditional statement. Even there is one more way, that is ternary conditional expression. And after this, okay, after this there is one more, that is what called match case expressions. Okay, so these are the various types of statements that we supposed to use while working with Python. So if you want to control the flow, meaning what? Okay, let's see. Okay. So if I create one variable that is for mark, okay, marks is equal to, if I say 80. And if you want to print something like this, whether the student is pass or student is fail. Okay. So now, if you directly execute this, you will see both the outputs, pass and fail. Okay. But this is what I don't want. Okay. When we say the student is passed, obviously when the marks are meeting certain condition, if the marks are greater than or equal to 40. Right. So here, the word condition comes in a picture. So obviously you must be need to use, or you must need to use the conditional operators. What and all those operators? So we have seen is equal to operator, not is equal to operator, less than, greater than or is equal to, less than or is equal to. These 6 operators are used here to define your conditional expression. Okay, it is fine. We can define. Okay, I will say passing statement, pass, or just I will use clear exam. Instead of that, I will use another word like criteria. Okay, criteria is, if I say greater than or is equal to 40. This is what my passing criteria. Right. So this is what I will say criteria. I will create the variable called criteria. And I have to create the conditions now. So how to create the condition? Obviously, what we can, so we can say when the criteria, meaning the marks, are greater than or is equal to. Instead of this, I supposed to use this marks greater than or is equal to criteria. So I'm using here variables, right? And if I try to print the output of this expression, so you will get output in the Boolean form, whether this is true or false. Okay. So we come to know after executing this statement that this is true, right? So you have to take the decision now. What to do when this is true, what to do when this is not true, right? Meaning this, when this is not true, meaning when this is false. And let's say you have to only say whether this student is pass or not. So you don't have to say anything for false. Whether you wanted to check whether this is pass or not. This is what my condition. So in that case, what we can do, we can use only if statement. So Python has if statement called, okay, something called if statement. In the if statement, you just have to give one condition. If that condition is true, the statement inside that block of if will be executed. Otherwise, that is not executed. Okay. So let's see how this works. So conditional statements works based on the true false result of conditional expressions. So this is what my conditional expressions. Here I used the conditional operators. And based on the operators and values of these variables, it is going to return me either a Boolean value like true and false, true or false. Okay. If you get the expression result as a true, what do you want to do? So I would like to print pass. Otherwise, I don't want to print anything. Okay. So what I can do, I can make the statement, first statement, that if the marks is greater than or is equal to criteria. Okay. So instead of criteria, what we can do, we can even directly use the value. Obviously, we are giving the variable name, that is meaning we are putting one value indirectly with the help of variable. So variables are just used to store the values and use that value in further programming, right? So now this is what my condition. The moment you write the condition, Python syntax comes in a picture. Okay, you have to give the colon. Once you are done with your conditions, to create a block scope, to create a if block. Okay, obviously this condition is going to either a true or either a false. Either a true or false. So in that case, if this is true, you have to say something. What do you want to say? You want to say like pass, right? And this is what my expectation. You don't worried about the false statement. If this expression returns false, you don't care. In that situation, what you can do, you can use the if block only, if statement only. Okay. And now if I execute, let me clear the screen. Okay. And now if I execute this, you can see that it is returning me a pass. Okay. Why these numbers are, the marks are meeting this criteria, right? If I say 30, marks are 30. And now if I try to run, am I getting any output? No, right? I will not get any output. Why? Because I'm not worried about the expression or the output when this condition is false, right? So this is how it works. If block, whatever you write the conditional expression in if block, if that returns true, then and then only whatever the code you have written, Python code you have written inside the if block will be executed. So in case of Python, obviously when you give the colon, here you can't go and write like this. Okay. So Python works based on the indentation. Okay. So if I add the space, okay, it's not like that you can but mostly we use tab space. But if you use single space only, that is also even going to work. Python needs some identification with the help of space to identify whether this code is a part of if statement or not. How Python will identify. So you have to give that identifier manually. And if you add the space, if you add tab space or if you add normal space, that is going to work. But if you add one normal space, then you need to add one space for all the statements which are falling under if block. If you change the space, Python will get disturbed and he will consider that that is out of block. Okay, this is how Python works. It is strictly working on the indentation. So you have to make sure that you give the correct space. If you want to add multiple lines, the space should be same. If I say print, if I say test, okay, I don't want to write anything here. But for this line, if I add this much space, this is not going to work. Python will give you unintended amount does not match previous intent. Okay, so it says that the indentation you have given is either not matching or meaning it is like a hint to the developer that you are doing something wrong that Python do not accept. Okay, So if you want to write the code which is not following in if block, then you should not add any space. You can directly write here. Okay. And then here you can see that this is not a part of if statement, I can say. And this will be executed even though the condition is true or false. Python don't care. He says this is not a part of if statement, so it will execute. And if I run this, you can see that we are getting this is not a part of if statement. This statement meaning anything out of the if, even though if you write after the if block, that will be executed. But if you add indentation to this, if you add one space, okay, there is no matter of this blank lines between two lines. Okay, so it will be considered of same block. And now if I run this, you will not see any output. Right here, I am not getting any output. If you look, this is what my file name. And this is what you need to understand. Okay, done. Once you are get familiar with this is all about if block. If the condition is true, it will execute the code, whatever the code we have written inside the if statement. If the condition is not true, we don't care. Let it go as it is. In that case, we can use if. But sometime you may need to take care for the false condition also. You may want to do something if the condition is false. In that situation, we can add else statement to if statement. So we can use else with if, okay, and else block will be executed. When condition is false. Okay, so obviously, if this condition is going to false, meaning the student is going to fail. In that situation, I can say fail. Right? This is what the meaning. So if you have given the condition for passing, so obviously if this condition is false, meaning the student is not passed, then you don't need to add the condition for else block. Here it will be considered, meaning whatever the conditions you have specified before the else block, apart from none of the condition gets true. In that case, else block will be executed. Okay. Now, if I run this, you can see output as a fail. Why? Because this condition is not true. If I make this condition true, okay, now the student is pass. You will get pass. And now what happened to else block? Obviously, if the condition is pass, Python will consider these two statements are together. If your condition is true, if block will be executed and it will directly skip if part. Sorry, it will directly skip else part. It will execute if and skip else. If the condition is not true, meaning condition is false, what Python will do? Python will skip a if part and it will execute else part. But this is how it's going to work. So when this will be executed, if the condition is true, so this is going to, if statement is going to execute. In Python will execute this statement. If the condition is false, okay, I will say true and false here. And on this, if this above expression, whatever the expression you have written inside if block will return false, in that case only this statement will be executed. If this is true, else block will be skipped. If this is false, if block will be skipped. That is the only difference. And Python will treat these two together as a single statement, if else statement. Okay, that's why Here I said if else statement in Python. Now, let's say this is what the scenario. But the another scenario is that you are not happy with the only pass and fail. You may want to add the grades. You may want to print the grades based on the marks. So you have to break down your conditions in that situation, meaning instead of giving only one condition for the passing 40, what you wants to do is you wants to add more than one conditions. In that situation, what we can do, we can use if elif else. So elif is nothing but else if the first condition is not true, you can specify the second condition also. So in that situation, what we can do, we can use first, anytime whenever you have to start with the if block, you are supposed to start with the if statement. Conditional expression start with the if statement. Okay. So if I say this marks are greater than or is equal to 80. Okay, this is what my first condition, and I will say first condition, if this is of grade A. Let's say this condition is not true. Okay, by any ways, if this condition gets false. Okay, so on next line, what we can say, else or elif marks are greater than or is equal to 60. Okay, this is my another condition. Then what I can say, print grade B. So this is how we can add another condition using elif statement in Python. Okay, on next line, let's say this condition is again not true. In that case, you may want to add another condition, which is for the marks lesser than 60. If I say this is greater than 50, greater than or is equal to 50, let's say print grade C. Okay, so like this we can create multiple breakdowns of our condition based on the value. Obviously this should be in decreasing order, then and then only it is going to work perfectly. Or if you give the lesser number condition first, what will be the problem? The problem is that if you mention here 50, what will happen? So 80 will be obviously always greater than 50. So your first condition will get true and you will get the incorrect result. So whenever you have to break down the range, you must go with the decreasing order or descending order, we can say. Okay, so this is what my else if. Okay, and let's say if this is not true. Okay, it's not mandatory to add else block even if there is no condition. Okay, if the condition is not there, it's not like that you have to add the else block. It is fine if you do not add else block. Okay, and now if I execute this, you will be able to see that it is saying grade C. Now if I change the marks, if I say 90, and if I execute this, now it is returning grade A. Okay, so this statement works fine for me. Even if I change this to 70, you will be able to see that the output is grade B. Okay, fine. So this is how it works. This is how else if elif block works. You can add more conditions by breaking your range. Okay, fine. But let's say if you want to add the else block, you can add. Else block will be the always last block of your conditional expression in Python. So here I'm going to say fail. Okay, here I'm going to say fail. Okay, and if I say 45. Now it is saying fail. Okay, so this is how it works. But here my passing criteria is changed to 50 marks. Okay, so I can, instead of fail, I can say pass. Okay, if the marks are lesser than 50, we can say that this is just a passing condition. Okay, but the problem is what? Okay, if you add, or if you say marks are 30, still it will say pass with this. If I clear the screen and if I run this, so you can see that still this is saying pass, but my criteria is 40. But my criteria is 40. So with the help of Elif statement, we can add multiple conditions, but the problem is that we will not be able to reach the expectations. Obviously, what it should do, it should check first for the passing marks. Right now, the problem is what? Here we are not aligned with the criteria. Okay, and to achieve that kind of result, what you need to do is you need to first check the condition, or first check the condition for passing marks. See, it's up to you how you specify, but obviously by using conditional statement, we have to do that. So what you can do, you can add the first passing condition. Okay, obviously when the student get pass, then the grades will comes in a picture. If it fails, then no matter how it comes, there is no point to say whether pass and fail. So in that situation, what we can do, we can go and we can use this nested conditional statement. Here, what we can do, we can use the one conditional statement inside another conditional statement. Okay. So if I start with my passing condition, so first I supposed to give the passing condition. If my student get pass, meaning if the marks are greater than or is equal to 40, right? If the marks are greater than or is equal to 40, in that situation, this grades and everything will comes in a picture. So I will move them, or I will add indentation to all other conditions. Right. This is what my another conditional block, inside conditional block. Right. And now if we say, or if we try to execute this, you will not get any output. Why? Because this condition says if the marks are above 40, then and then only it will print the grade and pass statement for you based on the marks. Then it should go and check these many conditions. If the student is not pass, then why Python should go and check these many conditions? So it is always better to use the nested statement. If you have conditions in this way, you have to put first basic condition, and let's say there is something called, based on that condition, you are able to conclude something like this. So if my first condition is not true, in that situation, we will be able to say the student is fails. Obviously, the marks are not greater than 40, we can say directly fails. And if the marks are greater than 40, we can say grade A, B, C, and pass. So like this. Indentation matters a lot. If you look at my indentation, so same space I have added here also. Okay, and here also, then here also, here also. If you change the space, that statement will be out of if statement, meaning the outer if statement. And if you write the conditional statement inside the another conditional statement, that statement become a nested conditional statement in Python. Okay, then there is something called ternary conditional expression. Okay, actually this is a shorthand for your conditional. Okay, so if you get this, that is fine. And if I say, okay, so you simply have to check for the pass and fail condition. In that situation, it's not like you can write the if and else statement the way we written earlier. Okay, so there is one more syntax You can create the variable as a result. Okay, and inside this you can store the value. First you have to say the value if the student is passed, but when student will get passed, if marks are greater than or is equal to 40. If this condition is true, we can say result is pass. Else what? Else. So this is what the shorthand for if else statement in Python, or sometimes it is referred as an ternary condition. Okay, so this statement evaluates in this way, the way we have seen if else. Okay, if else, but we are able to write, meaning Python is very famous for the shorter syntax. Write less, do more. That is what the feature of Python. This is not possible in most of the program, even not with respect to this. Okay, the ternary operator is available in any of the programming languages, but yes, Python is very much famous for shorter syntax. Okay, so now if I want to print the result, okay, I will say print result. I'm just passing the variable name. Whenever you pass the variable name to the print function, you don't need to double quote it. If you double quote it, it will print only result word. Okay, that will consider it is a text. But here we are not passing a text, we are passing a variable. If I execute this, you will be able to see that output is fail. Again, if I execute, you will be able to see that output is fail. Now, if I add the marks, change the marks to 50, and if I run this, what it says? So it says pass, right? So it is working very similar to the if else statement, right? Now in Python, there is another way to work like conditional statements. So that is what match case expressions. Okay, so here what we were doing, we were checking the condition, but let's say based on the value, if you want to return something, if you want to do something, so based on the value, if the value is exactly matching, meaning you can create the multiple possible expressions in advance, and if the whatever the expression evaluated by the Python, it returns something as a value, and if the value is like any number, any kind of, okay, it can be a date, it can be a number, it can be a text, that is fine. But yes, based on that value, you have to execute something. In that situation, what we can do, we can use match case. So in Python 3.10 or later version, this statement is available. Earlier, if you are using the versions before 3.10, you will not be able to use this expressions in your Python. Okay, so if I say match, but what to match? Here you have to write the expression. Expression could be anything that evaluates to a value. Okay, so now after this, okay, let's take an example. We have a date, and if we use or we may want to extract the information like week, day. So obviously, how many possible cases are there? 1 to 7 possible cases are there, because in a week we have 7 days. So if I say day is equal to, if I use, okay, I'm not going to pass here day, date and all. Let's say we are extracting weekday from any date, and that returns 1. But what is the range of numbers that can return? So it can return any number between 1 to 7. 1 to 7. In that situation, let's say you have to print the names of day. Obviously, you have a number and you want a name of day. So you can create the multiple cases with the help of match expressions. And if I say case is equal to 1, here I'm going to say Monday. Okay, so Monday through Sunday, 1 to 7 we will consider. Okay, then on next line, if I say case 2, if my Python expression returns true, okay, returns true, in that situation, if I say print, so it says second day of week. So what is the name of day? It should be Tuesday. Okay. The next case is day 3. And if the day 3 is meaning, it should be a Wednesday. Okay, I will use shorter names. Then if I say case 4, and it should be Thursday. If I say case 5, so all the possible cases you have to define in advance. And if the case and corresponding code. Okay, so here we are using print, but it's not like that we will use the print. We will use another code, Python code, that is possible, but you can use the, okay, there is no issues to use another code. So if I say Friday, if I say case 6, print, and this will return us Saturday, meaning the number 6 we are going to use for Saturday. And if I say 7, so this should be for Sunday. Right. So this is how it is going to work. And this expression is not going to check the conditions like greater than and less than, or this is not going to work on based on the true and false. Here it will match the exact value. If my day evaluates to 1, it will return the output of case 1, or it will execute the code of case 1. Okay. Now if I run this, you will be able to see that this is returning Monday. If I say 7, this will return Sunday. Right? This is how it's going to work. Very simple. This works completely based on is equal to operator. If the case gets match, okay, let's say if there is no match, by any reason, if there is no match, you can add else block here. Okay, I think else like default. No, we have something like else. Or there may be another keyword. Okay, we don't have no day. Okay, if I say no day, so this is not actually working with the default. So I need to find out the word, what word is used. Because of Python don't have a default and all else here. In case statement, what you can do, you can create the case and you can use the underscore for default one. Okay, in other programming languages like JavaScript and Java, there is a word called default. If none of the case is true, in that case, you can write default here and you can use, but here in case of Python, you can write like this case space underscore is going to represent anything if none of the case is matched. Okay. And now if I run this, it is returning me a Sunday. Okay. In that case, if I change this to 8, and here, if you look at my possible cases, so here 1 to 7 we have, but we don't have anything for day 8. So underscore will be matched there. Underscore will be matched there. And if I execute this, it will say no day. It will say no day. Okay. This is what actually this expression is used for default one. Okay. Here in this case, we don't have anything called default. In case of Python, okay, this works little bit. Python has little bit different syntaxes. Even in another programming, this is what the switch case expression, but here we have match case expressions. Okay, that is fine. But yes, the working of the result of the expressions are same. Okay, in case of, let's say in Java, it is switch statement, but in case of Python, it is match statement. But the working remains same. Nothing is changed. The logic behind using this is remains same. It doesn't matter which language we are using. Okay, so this is all about the conditional expressions in Python. I hope you like the content of this video. Thank you so much for watching the video. Have a nice day. Please do not forget to subscribe to webcam.